Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So I didn't get a chance to do videos on these for at least for like Monk and DK and Hunter. This was my original plan because by the time I got time and motivation to get them done, basically there was like 3 days left in this process. So for those of you that are unaware, if you've been under a rock, the Season 4 tier set bonuses for the Fated season, as well as what they are going to look like, are all going to be basically voted on by the community. So you have a choice of any of the looks from the 3 tier sets, along with any choice of the tier set, and each spec gets its own choice of tier set, but the class gets the same Transmog. So I was going to do videos on what I was going to push for, campaign for Monk, Hunter, and Death Knight, because those are the 3 specs that I've been playing a lot of, and I want to experiment with LA Shaman, but we'll see if I have the time. But today, that voting data concluded. This was posted up a little bit more than an hour ago, and we're going to kind of talk about what the results are. Now, we're going to go through all the classes. I don't know if these actually are good or not. I want you to tell me, but we'll definitely be there. Now, Waha does put out a couple of different problems that were kind of potentially plaguing this particular vote. Basically, that you could vote on every single character that you have. So this allowed potentially for skewing of the vote. So I have one of every class. So I literally could have logged in on every single character and made a vote, which, you know, obviously if I'm 13 votes that are in the favor that I want of the tier sets that I want to be, they could potentially skew the vote. And then there were also a lot of somewhat jokes, somewhat probably serious, of people that wanted to like take specs that they really hate and give them shit tier bonuses. So I saw a lot of people trying to troll Warlocks, obviously. Moonkins, of course, got a brunt of it. And to a lesser extent, 1 or 2 healers, I think, also saw it. Like Holy Paladins got a lot of people that were kind of trying to continue to make them feel like dog shit, which my stance on it, for the record, is that if your whole purpose of voting in this was to try and punish other specs, if that's your idea of fun, go fuck off. Delete the game, uninstall your account, and get the fuck out of here. Because I think you're a bad person. Trying to ruin other people's fun as your form of fun, like, you're an asshole. And you just don't deserve to be in this community, in my opinion. So, let's look at the results here. We're going to start with, of course, go in alphabetical order. So, Death Knight, they got the Season 3 Transmog. I agree, actually. I like this Transmog a lot. As a Frost DK lover, I'm particularly wanting this blue one. I don't remember how to get this or not, but I don't really care. I'll push probably more for it in Season 4 as a fun thing. So I am personally quite happy with the decision. I think this is the best set that is out there. The Season 2 set in particular, I thought was gloriously awful, because it was basically just you were the jailer, and that sucks. So pretty happy with Season 3 as the choice. Now let's look at Blood DK. So Blood DK, there were most votes was for the Season 2 tier set, which makes Heartstrike and Blood Boil deal more damage and give you Vamp Blood basically for 5 seconds. And then when you gain Vamp Blood, you get Vamp Strength, giving you 10% strength for 5 seconds. And then you get extended duration of Vamp Strength by half a second every time you Heartstrike and Blood Boil. So it's a very much passive RNG one. I don't play a ton of Blood DK, so I don't know if this is good or not. I'll talk to my raid lead, who is a Blood DK lover, and see if he's thrilled with this. I'll probably talk to him after I record this video, see what he thinks. Overall, I think Season 2 or Season 3 were probably good choices for this group. There's some just flat fundamental problems with Blood DK that have been holding it back really this entire expansion that I hope get addressed in the War Within. Frost DK, obviously the one of interest to me most, because I am a Frost DK, I won't say one trick because I do play Unholy every now and then, but I'm a more Art and Frost DK lover, even though I have a lot of problems with how the spec plays right now. And I just literally said in another video that I'll link up there that Frost DK needs a rework. But they chose the Season 2 tier set, and it was pretty much by far and away the best choice. I actually agree. I think Season 2 was the best tier set bonus because Frost from Tree is cool, Chill Streak is not. Frost from Tree has this big animation that you see and makes you feel like you're doing something big. Chill Streak does not. And then the Season 1 one was literally just like everything is bonus damage. And I feel bad for any spec that gets a Season 1 tier set, except for like Evoker, which might actually be the best tier set that they got this expansion. So Howling Blast damage is increased by 10%, Consuming Rime increases the damage of your next Frost from Fury, stacking up to 10 times, and Pillar of Frost calls a Frost from Fury at 25% effectiveness, but doesn't freeze enemies like the Talented one does. And then Frost from Fury causes enemies to take a 20% increase in damage from your critical strikes only for 12 seconds. So obviously it's a very much a crit stacking class. So I really like this bonus. I quite enjoyed it for when I played a little bit of DK in Season 2, and before I got my Season 3 tier, I really enjoyed this set, so I'm glad to see it come back. I think this is pretty cool. For Unholy, a little bit of a closer vote. Most people chose Season 3. I think it's fine. I think the Season 2 set was pretty decent as well, but I'm okay with Season 3. Like, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I don't really enjoy Unholy as much this expansion as I did particularly in BFA. But I mean, a lot of it still plays somewhat similarly, so we'll see. Demon Hunter. Now, I don't know anything about this, so we're just going to kind of go based on looks and kind of what I've been hearing generally from other creators in the community and folks in my own guild and community. But they chose the Season 3 tier set bonus, which I think this is good. I really wish they would get away from Illidan Horns for everything, but this, I think, looks great. So congratulations, Demon Hunters. I hope you're happy with this, because I think you got a decent looking set. For Havoc, the Season 3 tier set became the most voted on, and it was a landslide. I'm not surprised by this, because obviously Season 3 is when Havoc got reworked, and so they have a tier set that best works with how their reworked class functions. So if you're happy with Season 3 Havoc, which obviously this is the strongest Havoc has been all expansion, I'm not surprised they chose the Season 3 tier set. And it's a good tier set, obviously, because it makes it nicely walks the line between movement and no movement builds, and gives you something to gives you both single target and AoE as well. So like, it's just overall a good choice. All right, Vengeance, same thing. The Season 3, of course, got the most votes, but Season 2's was pretty close. So this was a very close vote overall. 1,800 votes or so. So again, I think it's not surprised that Vengeance, this is the most powerful Vengeance has been this season. And so people are pick that tier set because they equate power and tier set combined, and that's not really the case. It's just Vengeance as a baseline is a really strong class, and I still don't know why 2 sigils is still a thing right now, or double sigils on everything is still a thing. The amount of control is insane. Druid, a class that I've played extensive amounts of this expansion, but currently don't mess around with. I'll go form farming eventually. They got the Season 2 Transmog, which I actually really enjoy. I had the full geared out mythic set, and on a Cultiran, it's really funny to see like this halter top look on a Cultiran because they just got their belly sticking out. Fantastic. I love the look of this, so congratulations, Druids. I think you made a good choice here. For Balanced Druid, they ended up getting the Season 1 tier set, which, I mean, Balanced Druid tier sets this expansion, in my understanding, weren't very good. I really didn't like the Season 2 one at all when I was experimenting with Balance. I was a strict Feral player in Season 1, so I didn't play Balance at all. But basically, they just get their spenders, increasing the damage of their builders, and then when you enter Eclipse, you get free AP on your or get 5 less AP on your spenders, and they deal more damage. So there's a nice little like synergistic loop there. I think it's funny that this is built into a lot of spenders and builders when Season 1's gameplay was a very heavy dot based build. So I'll be curious to see how it kind of goes into how the Season 1 tier bonus goes into the kind of Season 2, Season 3 gameplay style loop that Moonkids have found themselves in. Feral Druids, they picked the Season 3 tier set by a pretty significant margin, about 600 or about 1,600 votes or so. I agree. I think Season 3's tier bonus is the best of the bunch. Season 1's was actually pretty good too for Feral. I actually thought that was a sneaky contender, but clearly not. So I just think they picked the best one. I think this is the best tier set bonus that Feral's had in a while, so happy to see it go through. And Feral is legitimately pretty good in Raid, at least. It's kind of shit in Mythic Plus because of the way their talent trees are, and something I predicted a long time ago, but good in Raid, and so I think that's something that people are going to be looking for, even though I think Season 4 should be treated more as a Mythic Plus season, with Raid as the fun side activity, whereas in most seasons, Raid is the main activity with Mythic Plus as the fun side activity. Guardian Druid in a monstrous landslide got Season 2, which I'm not surprised. That's when Guardian was at its strongest. It is also the best tier set for that season for tanks, so I'm not surprised that it was chosen. As someone that played extensive amounts of Guardian, though, I think the big thing about Guardian that made Guardian so good in Season 2 was your rage generation was amazing, and they nerfed that and now your rage generation isn't as amazing. So I'm worried about how this is going to be able to be maintained with the nerfed rage generation. So I wonder if Guardians almost kind of picked themselves into a corner, but frankly, their Season 1 and Season 3 bonuses weren't all that good. They didn't really have much of a choice. Season 2 was the only one that actually provided value. The other two tier set bonuses just weren't very good. And Rusted Druid chose Season 3 with your Grove Guardians. I think they really need to think about how they want Restoration Druid to play. Obviously, right now, it's very good in Mythic Plus in particular. You can Adaptive Swarm, Flow with double Life Bloom, and do all the healing, and then you just sit yourself in cat form and do a lot of damage as well. So I think Restoration is in a very interesting spot right now, and we'll see kind of when people start to recognize it and starts to become up there with Mistweaver Monk as a meta tank. A lot of people are playing Mistweaver right now just because it's gotten the most healing throughput, but I think for Mythic Plus particularly, I think Resto Druid is actually better, and a Mystic Touch is not as valuable in Mythic Plus as is a Mark of the Wild, considering what generally speaking is the DPS comps that you're seeing at high levels, which are, mages, demon hunters, warlocks, augmentation evokers. You're not really seeing those really heavy physical classes. You see some rogues, of course, but you don't see warrior, you don't see shaman and stuff like that, groups that have these physical damage kits. Evoker got the Season 1, and it was a pretty close tote between Season 1 and Season 2. I struggle to care about Evoker Mogs because you spend all your time in Dragon form where you don't actually see your Mog. But for those of you that care, that one looks okay. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's bad. I think they just need some time to figure out how they want Evoker tier to really find its own identity and go from there. Augmentation, of course, weren't around in Season 1, so couldn't get any votes, but they chose the Season 3 tier set. Very close vote, though, only 1,000 votes there. So every third prescience lasts longer, and casting prescient enhances your next eruption with smaller fissures. None of this makes any sense to me, so Augs, I hope you're happy with your Season 3 tier set, but it sounds like it was a pretty close vote, so I'm sure the community is probably split on this depending on what you voted for. Devastation Evoker ended up choosing Season 2 with Disintegrate and Pyre, pierce enemies with Obsidian Shards, which gives you basically another dot to add to your stuff as you cast your spenders, so great. And then stronger damage on your empowered spells, and your Obsidian Shards blaze with power. Those deal even more damage for 5 seconds, and during Dragon Rage, Shards always blaze with power. So Season 2 Evoker was actually, Devastation Evoker was actually really, really good. It just didn't get played because Augmentation was so incredibly broken that it completely flipped the balance of class design on its head. And so as a result, Devastation, I don't think, got the proper respect that it should have gotten for being as good as it was in Season 2, and I think this tier set was a big part of that in my understanding. So Season 1 was the next closest, but it was still like 2,600 votes behind, so it sounds like the Devastation community was pretty much set on the fact that Season 2 was their best time. And then Preservation, a spec that started out really strong in Season 1, which is why I think Season 1 bonuses won it, and then fell off really hard as the expansion went along. Preservation is going to need to continue to get some love and attention in War Within. Hopefully they decide to just stop with the range thing. I don't think a mid-range class works unless there's like a bunch of other mid-range classes. So I think Evoker is hurting in that regard simply because of the fact that it's the only one located where it's at, and I think that sucks for Evokers. So hopefully Preservation, you kind of got the Instacast Living Flame. I understand people really like that from a quality of life standpoint, but other than that, you didn't really get much out of this, so my apologies, Preservation. I hope you guys get some love in War Within, and you're the one healer that I haven't really legitimately tried, and I'm thinking about doing it to try and find me a second healer that I really enjoy playing. Hunter got the Season 1 tier set, which, sure. I wasn't a fan of any of the Hunter tier sets this expansion, so the fact that this one won is fine. Like, I think the helmet is really dumb, but you can hide that, but the rest of the set is okay. So, I'm down with that. Beast Mastery Hunter, very close between Season 2 and Season 3. I think Season 3 ends up winning because people again tied, Season 3 was when Beast Mastery Hunter was very good, so and the tier set was the reason why. No, really the reason why was because Call of the Wild is actually a good cooldown. So you're getting the Dire Beast energies that we're playing in now. I think Beastmaster Hunter is probably going to continue to see where it's at, but the Season 2 one, which basically made maintaining Frenzy like free, I think was actually a really good tier set, and I'm a little sad personally. I voted for Season 2, so I'm a little sad to see that Season 3 won out, but I don't hate that season 3 is the choice. Marksmanship Hunter by far and away got season 3. Hunters had pretty shitty tier this expansion. Hunter had a pretty rough time of it in general this season, so hopefully again it's a spec that kind of gets some love and support in the War Within, because I think there's some basic tweaks that need to really be made to more clearly frame the identity of marksmanship, because they have a lot of things at the bottom of their tree that just aren't never used, and like you need to figure out exactly what you want to do with them. Are they a wailing arrow class? Are they an execute class with kill shot? Are they a burst DPS with trick shots? Can there be any way to kind of integrate a cleave build, that doesn't gimp them completely in one way or the other? Like they had a lot of kind of fundamental flaws, which sucks, because I actually really enjoy marksmanship. I've always really liked marksmanship. Of the two ranged specs, I prefer over BM, not by much, but I enjoy both. But I really like I love the lone wolf sniper spec fantasy, and the fact that they've had just a really kind of shit time of it this entire expansion feels a little bit bad. Now, damage wise, they're fine. Even now, they compete with BM hunters, especially on certain styles of fights. But there's like some fundamental quality of life things that just don't feel really good for And then Survival Hunter got a close vote between Season 1 and Season 3. I personally voted for Season 3 because I like the Fury of the Eagle gameplay, but we chose basically a single target with some carve and butchery damage increase. This is Season 1, very passive, made mastery actually feel pretty good because you were spending a lot more time with your single target or AoE spenders. Like you wanted to use those as often as you could, which made mastery actually somewhat not good, but it made it like not completely garbage because you weren't focused on like a bomb kill command playstyle, which neither of those are focus spenders. So I think that's kind of the idea. For the love of God, give survival and mastery. So overall, as a hunter player, I'm pretty happy with some of these. Again, I kind of wanted Season 2's Beast Mastery. I voted for Season 3 because it's kind of just the best of a bad bunch. In Survival, I voted Season 3 because I like that build, but Season 1, I'm okay with it. Mages, you get the Season 3 Transmog, of course, with the Gandalf hat. I think that's the best one. Anytime you get a big old giant fucking wizard hat, I'm down with it. Arcane Mage chose the Season 3 bonus, which, I mean, Arcane was, for a long time, the meta Mage spec, so I'm not surprised by this. Now Fire and Frost have seen their return after they got some ridiculously, probably unneeded buffs. But, Arcane fans, tell me if you like this. I don't know anything about these tier bonuses, but given the fact that it was a 1,700 vote disparity across the board, sounds like Arcane community was somewhat united in it, with Season 2 kind of getting some love. Fire Mage gets the Season 2 set bonus, and it wasn't close, 2,700 votes almost over the Season 3 tier bonus. My understanding is that the Season 2 tier bonus made the complexity of Fire a lot more, which I kind of hate because Fire is already pretty punishing if you mismanage cooldowns. To add extra complexity on top of that makes the spec a little less beginner friendly, and as someone that has always dabbled in trying Mage and trying to like Mage, this would kind of scare me off a little bit, trying to integrate this tier set on top of trying to get the core gameplay down. And then Season 3 for Frost Mage, I'm not surprised by this. Basically, if you really like Glacial Spike, then if you're a Glacial Spike lover, then you pick Season 3. If you weren't a Glacial Spike lover, you picked anything else. And the majority of the Frost Mage community seems to be Glacial Spike lovers, so they went with Glacial Spike buffs. Alright, so let's look at the Monk one. Now, the Monk Transmog, they went far and away with the Season 1 one. I'm okay with this. I think it's fine. As a Pandaren, I don't really like the helm. I much prefer the Season 3 set, but Monks actually had a pretty good year for Transmog when it came to raid tier. All three of them, I think, were good. So, not upset at the Monk community for choosing Season 1. I chose Season 3. I'm obviously the outlier when it comes to looks, but really happy with this. Brewmaster Monk, by far and away, got the Season 3 tier bonus. This is the one I voted for. I think this season's tier bonus is the strongest of the three for Brewmaster. It's still middle of the road in terms of overall impact on the specs versus the other tanks. I think clearly Vengeance Demon Hunter and Paladin had the best tier sets this round, but Brewmaster I think was right there in the middle of the road, and so as a result you're not seeing a ton of it, but I think this was easily the best bonus, and so the fact that it won by a significant margin I'm pretty happy with. Mistweaver Monk, again, another one that I think was a clear, no really discussion choice, which was the Season 3 bonus. This is the most powerful tier bonus, I think, of any spec in Season 3. Yes, I said that, of any spec in Season 3, and it's by far and away the most powerful Mistweaver tier set in the history of the spec. So the fact that it won, I'm not surprised by this. It's a great tier bonus. It's part of the reason why Mistweaver has such good triage healing right now, as well as some really strong burst, and you get 50% increased healing taken, which just makes things like Vivify spot healing extremely powerful, because it's, you know, almost double the effect. It's, you know, more, almost like 1.5 times more effective than every other spec, which is big bonus. And Windwalker got Season 1. My choice for Windwalker was option 4, which would have been none of the above and give us something new, because I hated all of these tier bonuses. The fact that all 3 of them were close kind of shows that the community in general just kind of was... my sentiment on it is that I hated all of these. I think the community sentiment, Windwalker community sentiment on it, was just that it was kind of meh. Nobody really cared. And so they just kind of like closed their eyes and picked one. So we're getting a Fist of Fury, increasing the damage dealt of your next 2 Rising Sun kicks or spinning crank kicks. And then you also get your increased damage on Fist of Fury when you use your Rising Sun kicks or spinning crank kicks. I personally voted the Season 2 one. I kind of like the Shadow Flame gameplay, but I can kind of see why. Like, it was barely over toes. Like, bro. So the fact that the Season 1 one is just kind of like meh, and it just kind of explains this entire expansion for Windwalker, which is just meh. Paladin gets the Season 2 Mog. I think that's a good pick. I really like the Season 2 Mog. Someone that played Paladin in Season 1, I didn't really like the Season 1 Mog, and the Season 3 one's kind of eh to me as well. So I think Paladin's made a good choice here. Clearly they were very much united behind that front. Almost 5,000 votes ahead of Season 1. Alright. Holy Priest gets the Season 2 set, which is a Light's Hammer Holy Prism gameplay field. I see a lot of high-end Paladins that were pushing for this playstyle. Season 3, a little bit more focused around Glimmer of Light, which is kind of a dull playstyle from my understanding. Again, I don't play a ton of Holy Paladins, so I don't know. But the fact that Season 2 won here, I'm not surprised by, given the sentiment that I was seeing on Light's Hammer, or on the Light's Hammer Discord, as well as talking to some other Paladins in the realm. Prot got Season 1. I think this is a little bit of a misnomer. I think this one is definitely the most defensive build of it all, but I think Prot Paladin's defense is great. I think Season 3 is probably legitimately the best bonus, but I think because it's tied to Consecration, and Prot Paladins in general hate the you have to stand in Consecration or you die gameplay, which, as someone that plays a lot of DK and deals with people running out of my Death and Decay while I'm trying to AoE, I get it. So they chose Season 1 almost as kind of like a way to tell Blizzard that, hey, we hate Consecrate gameplay, can we do something about it? I think this set bonus is fine. I played it in Season 1. Obviously, Prot Paladin was the meta tank in Season 1, and this was a big reason why. So, cool. Ret Paladins got the Season 3 tier set with Expurgation and Wrathful Sanction. I think this is fine. You can play a really good, like, Blade of Justice Cleaves build for AoE. It's doing really well for the spec right now. Retribution's kind of in a all or nothing state right now, where it's really good in AoE and shit in single target, or really shit in AoE and great in single target. It's been suffering from that basically outside of the initial rework patch. It's kind of suffered from that build because you still have to go like heavy into single target or heavy into AoE. And so I think the tree needs to be looked at that, because it's the specs that don't have to do that obviously are performing much better than that, because you don't have to change your talent builds literally for every fight, but it kind of sucks. Priest, they chose the greatest tier set bonus, or greatest tier transmog of all time. I'm glad Priest saw this. It wasn't even freaking close. 11,000 votes combined. So yeah, good job, Priest. You didn't fuck up the easiest decision of your life. Good job. Discipline chose Season 3 tier set, which does around, again, kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that Season 3 was when the spec was kind of mini reworked and found God. And then Season 2 obviously was a close one. I've seen Jack talk about this a lot. I don't fully understand it, but it sounds like there was a split amongst the community between Season 2 and Season 3. And so I'm hoping that ultimately I hope Disc Priest is happy. Watching good Disc Priest play is actually kind of fun. Playing good Disc Priest play is stressful as fuck. Holy Priest, not a lot of votes here. They had a same thing. Season 2, Season 3 was there. Season 3 won. I mean, Holy Priest just kind of has some fundamental problems. They've never been able to find their footing again after Flash Concentration was deleted from the game. They did a lot of, and like, Symbol of Hope getting nerfed, I think, really impacted the spec way more negatively than even, I think, Holy Priest expected. And so, I think it just leads to the spec just kind of feeling eh. Shadow Priest chose Season 2, but I think Shadow Priests are just in the dump right now. Season 2, I think Shadow probably got this mostly because of the fact that Shadow was very, very good in Season 2. The other thing that I think Shadow's probably hoping for is that the numbers on this get tweaked back to what they were in the Season 2 levels when Shadow Priest was really good. Although, again, I will tell you that the reason that Shadow Priest was really good wasn't because of their tier bonus, it was because the dungeons were perfectly set up for Mass Dispel on a 45-second cooldown, and Psychic Link was really, really good. So, like, again, maybe Shadow Priest can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I think that's probably why Shadow Priest was so good in Season 2. It had nothing to do with the tier bonus, because my understanding is their tier bonuses have all been kind of meh the entire season. Rogues, you chose the Season 3 Mog. Good job, Rogues. Good choice. I don't know anything else, but we'll see. Assassination, I think you're going to see Season 3 for a lot of these specs, because again, Rogue got reworked going into Season 3, so the fact that Assassination chose their Season 3 bonus, again, doesn't surprise me. It probably plays best with how their class plays right now. See, Outlaw does the same thing with Season 3, and Sub also chose Season 3, and none of these votes were close. So it was like, what, 3,000-ish votes, or, 29, 20, or something like that. For Assassination, it was, 50, almost 4,000, so 3,800-ish votes for Outlaw, and then about 1,600-ish votes for Subtlety. I'm not surprised that Rogue chose Season 3, because that's when their spec got reworked, and that's when they've been really, really good for the thing. And I think that the fact that the overall spec's power for a patch is influencing people's decision on this. Shaman, you chose Season 3 as your Transmog. I like the wolf shoulders, so wolves are one of my favorite animals, so I'm down with that. Elemental, you chose Season 3, so the fire build is going to reign supreme in Season 3. I'm not a personal fan of that. I like the lightning build personally. I like the aesthetics of the lightning build. Now, I haven't played a ton of Elemental. I'm only kind of exploring it now very recently, so I'm still learning a lot about the spec. So, but it sounds like it was a little bit closer, not as close as I thought, actually. I thought it was going to be like, 5,000 versus like, 4,600 or 4,700, just be that close of a build. But clearly Elemental feels in Season 3, the Elemental community feels that Season 3 is there, but Season 2 did get a lot of representation as well. So Shaman, tell me if you're or Ellie's, tell me if you're happy. Enhancement got the Season 3 tier set bonus. I've heard guys like Word Up say that this bonus is like the best thing that Shaman has had in a long time in terms of tier set bonuses, and the Elementalist playstyle is just very natural, very flowing. Season 2 I thought was going to get a little bit more love, because I know there are people that really like the Doomwind's playstyle, but I know, speaking to some Enhanced Shaman that I know and things like that, like a lot of them actually hated Doomwinds. They love the Elementalist build, so the fact that Season 3 won, not surprised. I'm a little surprised that it was this wide. I thought a lot more people would like the Season 2 playset. And Restoration Shaman chose Season 1 because Restoration Shaman have had really bad tier sets going like basically 2 straight expansions now. Almost every single one of their tier set bonuses have sucked for a while. I don't know going back into Legion if that was the case, but basically you're going into Cloudburst. Cool. I think Restoration Shaman, some of them really love Cloudburst, some of them really hate it. It's a pretty divisive talent, is my understanding. I hope Restoration Shaman get a look. They need it. Warlock, you chose the Season 2 tier set. I think I don't like this one, so, but I don't remember what the other two were like, so I'm going to assume you made a good choice. It's pretty close, though, between Season 2 and Season 1, so I'm not surprised, so that tells me something. Affliction got the Season 3 tier set bonus. I know Kalamazi was kind of thinking this would be the one that you should go for, just because of the 3, it did provide the most DPS increase. Does force you into a Soul Rot gameplay, which, depending on your feelings on that ability, you may or may not like. So we'll see. Shaman's or Affliction locks, tell me if you like. Demo Season 3 was by far the winner. Demo strangely was very good. I think people underestimated how good it was actually going to be after they got the rework of how its cooldowns work, which basically killed it as a PI spec, but still makes it very good. Doombrand does have some like tab targeting gameplay associated with it in AoE, which makes it a little bit more interactive. So maybe that was kind of the thing, but generally speaking, this is just a good spec, and it makes it a versatility class, which is kind of weird. As you can see, like everything here, 1+ versatility, 1+ versatility. So you want like a crit verse type spec or a mastery or a haste verse like spec, but either way, like versatility is important just because of the way the tier set scales. And Destro locks mostly chose season 1, basically consuming soul shards is a chance to catch a chaos maelstrom, and then you get 208% crit strike damage versus the usual 200. And I think this mostly comes down to the fact that season 2 was a channel demon fire build. Destrolocks, generally speaking, hate channel demon fire, and season 3 forced you into a talent that played a portal, which I think this is basically Destrolock specialists telling us, hey, we don't like our talents being forced onto us. Which, congratulations, you're every other spec in WoW. So again, I may be looking at this a little bit differently as an outsider to Warlock. We'll see. Warriors, you chose season 2. I agree. I actually love the way this set looks. I had the mythic, or I had the full heroic and a majority mythic set on my warrior for a while. So I really like this look. I really like, especially this heroic set right here. I really like the way that this one looks. Arms Warriors, you chose season 1, barely over season 3. Very close vote. Only about, what, 600 votes? So you just get a basic on your Mortal Strike, Cleave, and Execute damage and crit damage. Sure, I think Arms Warrior, much like, I mean, Warrior in general just feels like it needs a new coat of paint. Obviously, I included Arms Warrior in my specs that need a rework video. So I'm hoping that Warrior gets something, because DPS Warrior is actually kind of fun to play in some ways. If you're not familiar, if you haven't been doing the same gameplay loop for years and years and years. But Warrior also just feels like it's like lacking in areas that almost no other class is right now, because it really hasn't changed that much in like a decade plus, and it really needs it. Fury, you chose the season 2 tier set. I hate you guys. I hate this build. I hate it. I hated it then. I hate it now. It's the reason why I switched to arms in season 2 and did much better. I hate this. I was hoping season 3 would go with Odin's Fury. I think that makes the gameplay a little bit more interesting, but you know, obviously pretty close vote. 1300, it doesn't seem close, but I mean, that's a lot of votes coming in. Like, this was probably one of the most heavily voted on in the game. As you could tell, like, there's like 19,000 votes versus arms only getting something like 10 or 11,000. Like, clearly there's a large Fury community, and they really wanted to make their voice heard on this with season 2, but I think you made the wrong decision. I hate this build. I can't stand it. Especially because you literally had to get a weak aura in order to track this fucking 4 set. And I hate when you have to get weak auras to deal with your tier. Alright, and Prot Warriors with about 9,000 votes or so chose season 3. My understanding is this was definitely the best I don't know if it was the best. I think season 1 was actually better, because it made, like, that's when Prot Warrior was actually at its best this expansion. And I think the tier set had a large part to do with that, but season 3 I think is fine too. Like, Prot Warriors had kind of weird tier sets all expansion, so I'm hoping that, again, Protection is a class that I don't know if it needs a full rework. I just think it needs the class in general just needs some touch-up paint and really thought out like updating and gameplay updates into the core identity of the warrior, and maybe some utility adjustments that make it a little bit more desirable, particularly in 5-man scenarios, because it's either it does by far the most damage or you don't bring it. And that's across all 3 specs. Like, Prot Warrior doesn't have to be the tankiest. If it does by far the most damage, it's going to be brought. We saw that with Guardian Druid in season 2. It did by far the most damage, so it's brought. Anyways, guys, that's the rundown of the video. If you're a fan of any of these specs or classes, please tell me which one. Did you think the community as a whole made the right decision? Like, share, subscribe, comment below, and tell me what you think. Until the next video, hope you stay safe, hope you have fun, keep on gaming, and I'll see you next time.